Have you ever realized that you forgot to invoice a regular client again? Or you find yourself copying the same invoice every month in Xero and just changing the date or the amount manually each month? Xero already has a feature designed to solve these. Let me show you how professionals use repeating invoices in Xero. Let's say you have a client on a $1,000 fortnightly retainer. Instead of creating a new invoice every 2 weeks, you can set up repeating invoice once. Let's do it. Go to Sales, then Invoices. Next to New Invoice, choose New Repeating Invoice. If you don't see this button here, just use the drop-down. Pro tip, if you already created an invoice for a client, don't start from scratch. Open that invoice, click these 3 dots on the right and select Repeat. Xero copies everything into a new repeating template for you. Efficient bookkeeping is about not retyping what already exists. Important to note that what you are creating here is not an invoice. It's a template, based on which the actual invoices are generated later. So let's set up this schedule carefully. First, choose how often it repeats. In our example, every 2 weeks. Next, the invoice date. This is the start date. Let's pause here a bit. If you set a date in the past, Xero will immediately generate all the backdated invoices when you hit save. That might cause some unwanted surprises, so please pay attention to this. Then set your due date, for example, 7 days after the invoice date. Finally, the end date. Leave this blank for ongoing services. However, if you have a fixed term contract, enter the end date here so the invoicing stops automatically when the contract ends. Otherwise, you will be awkwardly invoicing the client 3 months after the project ended. Then you have 3 options. This is the part most people rush, but they shouldn't. This is where you're telling Xero how much control you want to keep. First is Save as Draft. Xero creates a draft invoice that you must review and finish, so approval is completely manual. If you choose Approve, Xero generates and approves the invoice, meaning it is recording it in your accounts, but it does not email the client. If you want, you need to send the invoice manually to the client. And the third option, Approve for Sending, is the full automation. This is the autopilot mode, if you like. Xero generates, approves, and emails the invoice automatically on the day the invoice was created. Xero will send the invoice exactly as it appears in the template. So only use Approve for Sending when the invoice details and, most importantly, the amount never changes. Automation is powerful, but only when the setup is correct. Everything else looks like a normal invoice except for one feature, a hidden gem, the placeholders. If you type services for August, you will need to edit that manually each month, or if you're sending your invoices automatically, all of your invoices will have the services for August text. Instead, you should use placeholders and Xero will automatically update the text to services for September, services for October, and so on, based on the invoice date. You can use placeholders in the description field and the reference field. Pro tip, using +1 and -1 lets you shift the month forward or backward. And always preview before saving the repeating invoice. Once you click Save, your invoices will be generated according to the schedule. This part isn't complicated at all. What most people misunderstand about the recurring invoices is that they assume repeating invoices only work if the amount is identical every time, and that's simply not true. If the amount varies, the key is how it is saved. Instead of approving and sending automatically, set the repeating invoice template to Save as Draft. Xero will then generate a draft invoice each period. You open it, adjust the amount as needed, then approve and send. Why does it matter? Well, first, you don't have to remember to create the invoice. You'll find it in the draft invoices, which prompts you to finalize and send it to your client. And secondly, you're not starting from scratch each time. When you open the draft invoice, the client details, account coding, layout, and the description are already done. You're only adjusting the variable, and the invoice is ready to go. That's efficient bookkeeping. Repeating invoices are one of those small setup choices that quietly save hours over a year. Xero works best when you let it handle repetition and you stay in control of decisions. Automation doesn't replace you, it supports you, when you set it up properly. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more Xero tips. Thank you for watching.